Welcome. So we'll start in a nice upright seated position, and if sitting in this easy pose is a bit uncomfortable, you can always get into a cross-legged position. The session is going to be nice for when you feel a bit of discomfort in your back. So healing the back a little bit, resting hands on the knees, close your eyes, and let's just connect with the breath. Just taking this moment to become fully aware, being present. Just scanning your body, noticing if there's any discomfort. And if you find that there's any unnecessary tension in the body, just allow the exhalations to let go of any unwanted tension. Start to deepen your inhales and exhales. And just experience how you slip into a slightly more relaxed state. It doesn't take much, just a few deeper, controlled inhales and exhales. You have the option to do Ujjayi Pranayama to restrict the throat, to keep the breathing deep, but to do Ujjayi, or you can simply just keep the breath nice and deep. I like to stick to Ujjayi breathing on the mat because it acts as a constant reminder to keep the breath nice and deep. So whatever option you go with, you can keep it that way throughout the class as you open your eyes. Just starting on our backs, you can relax back onto the mat, stepping feet close to the glutes, feet hip distance. Keep the entire spine flat on the mat. Feel that you're pushing feet down into the floor. Keep your head still. Start to lift the hips, and as you lift the hips, squeeze in the glutes, feel the quads working, lifting the hips nice and high. Once you feel that you've got enough height in the hips, you can interlace your fingers and walk the shoulders a bit closer together to get into a bridge pose. Quite a nice way to stretch into the back. It shouldn't feel too uncomfortable. If anything, it should feel quite nice if you have a bit of tension in your back. Don't feel rushed. Modify the posture accordingly if it is uncomfortable, and that counts for any posture in this yoga class. Nice full deep inhalation, and on exhale, releasing the hands and slowly lower your spine back down onto the floor, one vertebra at a time. Straighten your left leg. Take the right leg up to ceiling. Now, hamstring flexibility surely comes into play, so if you can't get the leg up to 90, then just keep it a bit lower. But you'll flex the foot as you bend the knee, and straighten your leg, pointing the toes, lifting your head up. So a bit of a nerve stretch. You bend and dorsiflex, you plant the flex and tuck your chin. Bend, head down, and point, head up. So just move at your own pace. We'll change the dynamic a little bit, but this is a good starting point. So you're just pointing and flexing. We're going to invert with the foot at the same time. So now when you point, instead of simply pointing, turn your foot inwards so you feel the lateral side of the ankle getting a bit of a stretch. And then a normal dorsiflex, head down and lifting, pointing the foot to your side, to the left side. So just bending and pointing. Now just keep the head on the mat as you still bend the knee and straighten the leg and point. Just another 2. Just do a few repetitions. Bit of a nerve glide. And then bring the right leg down. You can take your left leg up. We'll start by flexing, bending the knee, and then pointing, lifting head. Flexing and lifting. So just move at your own pace. Feel into the left leg as you do this. You might find with a nerve stretch, especially when we start inverting the foot, it's a slightly different sensation. There's a clear difference between a nerve stretch and a muscle stretch. You'll feel that slight burning sensation. What I even like about this basic exercise is the fact that we lift the head up and down. It's quite nice for a bit of neck strengthening. Now, as you point, tilt the foot over to the right, invert, and keep going. As basic as it may seem, the specific exercise has been very useful in my life when I spent a lot of time in a cross-legged position and the peroneal nerve got a bit pinched and trapped, and this was a good way. You can keep the head down and just do the same movement. And then you can bring your leg down, stepping both feet onto the mat, just to get the core to wake up a bit. Crunch up, so get the shoulders off the mat, head off the mat. Reaching with the fingers to the front and just slightly lifting the hips off the mat. So we just want the hips to not touch, shorten the midsection between pubic bone and navel. And you just keep the crunch as deep as possible. And maintaining this position, take the arms up and down. Inhale, arms to go up, in line with shoulders, up to ceiling. Exhale, forwards, up and down. And if it gets too much and you need to take a breather in between, do so. Just a nice way to, yet again, strengthen the neck muscles a bit. And we are tapping into the abdominal muscles. Slowly bring your sacrum down, head down, grab hold behind the backs of the knees, rocking up into a seated position, hands onto mat, and make your way onto all fours. As we get into this all fours position, cat and cow, it's good for sciatica even. So tucking chin around in the spine. Inhale to arch in the back, looking up. Exhale, cat stretch. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. Exhalation, cat. Inhale, cow stretch. Exhale, bring it back into a neutral spine. You'll straighten legs, and if it's difficult to lower down to a chaturanga to relax onto the mat, then you can place knees onto the floor. Otherwise, just slowly make your way down, all the way onto the mat. As you get down onto the mat, position elbows below the shoulders into Sphinx pose. Now, depending on how your back is feeling today, if you struggle to lift all the way, then at least push the pelvis down, get engagement in the glutes, and bring the chest up as much as possible, shoulders down. And then in the swings pose, you can even lower down and come up. Lower down, so a little bit of a dynamic swings and up. But if this is not enough for your back, then I'd suggest that you straighten the arms when you come up, and then bending the arms as you come down. Inhale up, exhale down. In breath up, exhale down. Up and down. The more the back gets used to it, the more you can slide the hands closer to the shoulders, coming up and down. Doing a few back extensions works wonders. So this is probably one of the more effective ways to warm up the back and to just eliminate unwanted lower back pain. Even though it seems so basic, but it's this back extension that we want. And by being on the floor, we have a lot of support with the pelvis pushing down into the mat and the legs being on the floor. It's just a more effective way, or less can go wrong than, say, in a standing position and doing the same type of thing. 2 more. Up, down, and then 1 more. Coming up. Just holding it here. Breath is nice and deep, and if you feel as though you're pushing into pain, then rather come down a bit. You want to stay away from, or at least you want to listen to the signals that's warning your body when it's a bit too much. Slowly lower down. A bit of hip extension. It's also a nice way to subtly work into the back. You can rest your hands below the shoulders. As for the head placement, if you want to rest chin on the floor, be my guest. If you want to slightly keep the head away from the mat, that's fine. But lock both legs, point with the toes. Raise your right leg, but keep the right hip firmly on the floor. Now just get the leg to move up and down. You don't have to do big movements, but there's a bit of movement up and down with the right hip staying firmly on the yoga mat. Should you want to take it a little step further, instead of keeping your chest on the floor, very close to the floor, start to lift in the chest. So a little bit of weight in the hands, but you want the back muscles to work. So if I had to push up with my hands and not use my back muscles, then you're sort of defeating the purpose of the posture or movement. So lifting in the chest, but still taking leg up and down. Now bring the right leg down. You can bring your chest down once again, locking the left leg, lifting it up. Make sure the left hip stays down. That's very important. And then you can start with a bit of movement. So once again, we're not rushing to get to the final phase here, but instead making sure the leg is locked, starting to warm up in the hip joint in the back. And then if you feel comfortable, you can lift your chest a bit. You'll feel that it's a little bit more intense on the back, strengthening wise, if you lift in the chest. So we're getting extension in the back, and when we take the foot up, we're extending in the hips. And then slowly bring the leg down, chest down. You can push back into a child's pose, but get the knees together. The reason I want you to bring knees together is so that your chest can drape over the knees or upper legs, creating a bit of a C shape in the spine. So a bit of flexion, opposite sort of movement Now slowly come back up onto all fours, and once again we do our cat and cow. Notice how the back muscles are slightly warmed up now, so tucking chin, exhale, and then inhale, cow stretch, looking up. Exhale to cat, inhale to cow. Exhale cat, inhale cow. Exhale cat, and then inhale cow. Now just use the exhalation to get back to neutral spine, straighten legs into plank, and once again lower down onto the floor. So come all the way down onto the mat. Now bring the arms out in front. Push the sides of the hands into the floor with the palms facing one another. Push right hand down, left foot down as you raise the left arm and right leg. So you can look forwards and you're just reaching with the left hand as far out in front as possible with the right toes reaching to the back. Exhale, bring it down. Inhale, opposite side up. So it's not simply arm up and leg up, you're also actively pushing the opposite limbs down into the floor. Exhale, bring it down. Position hands below the shoulders. Walk your legs together. Make sure inner knees are touching. Then tuck your toes, push toes into the mat. Now, from this position, you want to make sure that you push pelvis down and kneecaps down into the floor. Once you do that, start to lift your chest without using the hands all too much. Then float your feet off the mat, keeping hips down, keeping knees together and down. Feet can be at about 45 degrees, but you want to flex your feet, dorsiflex, toes closer to shins. Option of staying here if it's quite intense on your back, or option of floating hands off the floor. If you lose the connection between the inner knees or knees not making contact with the floor, then rather lower down a bit. So keep the integrity of the posture and just breathe. Exhale, slowly down, pushing up onto all fours. From the all fours position, tuck toes and make your way into your first downward facing dog. With this first down dog, you can walk it out, so bend one knee, an opposite knee, walking it out a little bit. In the downward facing dog, use inhale to lift up onto the tiptoes and exhale. Draw your heels down towards the floor. Inhale, heels away from the floor. Exhale, heels down. Inhale up. Exhale down. In breath up. Exhale down. Bend knees, look up. Use inhale to get into seated position. Once you get to seated, we're going to work on the back and hamstrings. Straighten the left leg. Step the right foot to inner thigh. Janu Sirsasana. So we've got a 90-degree angle between the knees. Left foot in line with the left hip. Inhale, take your arms up. Exhale, keeping length in the spine. Lean with chest and chin. See if you can find your foot. If not, hold on to the leg. But think of pulling your chest and your chin closer to your foot. Feel what it's like in your back. It's maybe going to feel a little bit easier to round and to just reach with the arms, but you're going to find that there's far more activation if you're thinking of pulling your chest and chin closer to the foot. And this is where yoga is so amazing. It gives you so much body awareness over time that you can instantly feel, even in your everyday movement, when you're doing something wrong. I can get so detailed and say that even the way you walk, your feet striking the floor, it's obviously not really possible if you're wearing shoes that's extremely cushioned or comfortable. But you become so much more aware of your body movement. Inhale, lifting in the chest, and exhale, let go of the foot. Switch legs, do the right leg. So we've got the right leg in front, left leg bent. Work your left knee down. If the knee's sitting up like this, then at least always work on getting the knee closer to the mat. Inhale, arms up, and exhale, lean with the chest and chin as you turn it into a forward bend. Inhalation, lifting in the chest, and exhale, let go. You'll straighten the left leg, and instead of keeping feet together as we would do in a traditional Paschimottanasana, get the feet hip distance. Now flex your feet as much as possible, pushing the heels down, but straightening the legs. So you want to feel that the quad muscles are active with the kneecaps drawing up. And once you feel that sensation, use an inhale to get arms up. Exhale, reaching forwards, and then wrapping your hands over the balls of the feet. Should you not have the flexibility, hold on to the legs, but keep the feet flexed. Make sure the feet are flexed in the same way, that one foot's not slightly turned in. Attention to detail here. And then you hold this position. Once again, you don't have to go for the deepest forward bend, but rather just for length in your spine. You don't want to sit with a sore back and then do a forward bend where the spine is rounding or flexed. Hinging in the hips is the answer. Using inhale to lift in the chest and chin. Exhale, let go. Place your hands behind the shoulders. Step your feet onto the mat, but keep them hip distance. Use your next inhale, lifting hips off the mat. Take it up into a tabletop. You don't want to feel the toes sort of lifting off the mat. You're gripping the mat with the feet as you lift up. Exhale, slowly lower down. As you bring the hips back down, you can straighten your legs and cool down onto the mat. Bend the left knee to 90. Carefully take the left knee over to the right with the left arm out to the left. You don't have to go and work the left knee onto the floor. You're simply just keeping shoulder blades on the mat and working the knee away from the left arm. Inhale, bring it back to center. Straighten the left leg, bend the right. Taking the right knee over to the left. Once again, notice if there's any subtle differences between the left and the right side when it comes to your spinal twisting. A bit of a dynamic spinal twisting exercise. So inhale, bring it back to center, and then bend your left knee, get the knees together, both arms out to the sides. Dropping knees over to the right, bringing it back up, and over to the left. Knees at 90, back up, over to the right, and up, over to the left. One more on each side, back up, to the right, and then all the way to the left. Bringing it back to a neutral position and hugging knees into your chest. You can grip hold behind the backs of the knees and slowly make your way up into a seated position. So before we get to corpse pose, I'd like to calm the body and the mind even more through a bit of breathing. You're going to inhale on the count of 4. It happens through your nose, so it's a full inhalation. Filling up lungs, feel the abdomen, the chest expanding. And hold your breath for 4 counts. Don't force it, just hold the breath. You have enough oxygen in the lungs, so it's just an inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. So the exhalation is a little bit longer. And if you find this is definitely too comfortable for you, it's too easy, then you can inhale for 4, hold for 7, exhale on 8. I'll count with the first 2 or so cycles, and then you can just carry on counting in your head as you do your pranayama. So let's take a full inhale through the nose. Hold. Exhale. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Carry on. If you want to extend the breath retention as well as the exhalation, then do so. Just feel what your body needs. You can most definitely deepen the breathing practice by lengthening the inhales and exhales, or the retentions and the exhales. You'll finish your cycle with an exhalation. And just for a minute, allow the breath to be natural, sitting up nice and tall, and just enjoying this more peaceful state that you're in. At any time during the day. You can always deepen the inhales and exhales just to tap into your physiology and to get the body to be more calm. It's good to be in your fight and flight, your sympathetic nervous system at times, but generally speaking, you most definitely function better in your rest and digest, your parasympathetic nervous system. And with a breathing exercise like this, we get into the rest and digest. This is where we are able to think clearly and keep the body more alkaline. You can now slowly relax back onto the mat into corpse pose, where we will be staying for a while. You can stay in this corpse pose for as long as you want, really, but just give yourself a little while before we carry on with life.